Happy Thursday. How's it going, guys? How are you guys doing? What are you guys working on this week? Guys working on anything exciting? What happened today? Happy Thursday. Yeah. How you guys doing? Yeah, let me know if you guys are working on anything exciting this week, or what are you guys working on? What's exciting what's exciting these days for you guys? No, seriously, let me know. Let's chat about stuff, yo. But yeah, let's get this going. Mr. Jashim is first in the house. Mac, hello. Happy Thursday to you. Mr. Camera Junkie, always a pleasure. Hey, Luis, how's it going? How you guys doing? Gabriel, happy Thursday. And Avars, how's it going, man? If you guys haven't been checking out Avars' streams, he's been kind of crushing it. He started streaming, he says, allegedly, because I said that he was going to, because I was streaming, but then he kind of went and just all out. So Avars is preparing invoice to customer right now. That's a nice task to have, absolutely. And it's kind of in line with what we're going to be talking about. And Luis is working on his next video. That's awesome. Fantastic. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I've been busy with work. So I have my next video recorded, but I haven't had the time to edit it. But it's coming out. I may push it until next week. I may have 3 videos that come out next week. And Jashim is editing photos for a customer right now. Fantastic. Look at that. All right. And Mac is working on a song called Live Streaming Millionaire. Bam, it's for me. I know it. I know that you're writing that song for me, and I appreciate it. All fun and games. So yeah, a fun song based on an old ragtime from the 30s. That should be a YouTube video. Now that I want to see. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about I muted myself. Yes, it's exactly what happened. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that the audio is correct. But yeah, I'm going to keep talking while I run to do one thing. So yeah, we're going to be talking about multiple income streams and what they actually mean. Are you guys doing it right? All good now. Are we getting some music in there as well? We should be getting music, but we're not getting music. Why not? How about now? Oh, there we go. Hearing music? Maybe? We'll see. There we go. All right. For some reason, I can't hear it. But yeah, so again, we're going to be talking about the multiple income streams. Specifically, one of the biggest things that came up for me is I kept seeing so many videos on YouTube, especially people saying my 21 income streams, my 30 income streams, the 400 income streams, or whatever, and that's good and all, like those are fantastic that people have set up those kind of ventures for themselves. It's just it gets a little bit iffy when you start calling them income streams. Now, yes, it's technically an income stream, but the way it's defined, the way I leave this out for now because it's bugging me. So, multiple income streams. Let's just define what they are. So, and this is a conversation that I've been having with a whole bunch of people lately, and we've been talking about like just the perception of an income stream that is being presented online by so many different people, especially popular YouTubers, which can confuse a lot of people if you're not really going down that path and really starting to understand it. And because there is a path from one income to another kind of income, and we're going to talk about what those kinds of incomes are, what that actually means. So the sources of income that most people have are active. They have active income streams, and the goal is to slowly switch over to passive income streams. Now, one of the things that comes up a lot on YouTube in a lot of the videos that I saw, and this is why I wanted to make this, because it's just like that. It's a great way to kind of showcase that they're putting in the effort in the active space, because the active income stream is your salary, the hourly work that you guys do, business income. So that's income that comes from any kind of businesses stuff that you do. So, for instance, if you have a shop, if you have LUTs that you have, that's business income that's coming in. You have gig income that's doing work for like on projects and whatnot. Commissioned income, so if someone hires you to do something like a piece of art. And then you have the other side hustles, which is like the merch and any other things that you're doing. There's like numerous ones where you can transcribe stuff for different languages. You can do Fiverr. Well, that's the gig income, but you can do take surveys. You can do all these little different things, and all those fall into one or two actual income streams, because these are still active. Those aren't passive income streams that most people are talking about. It really comes down to switching from anything that you have to put effort into is an active income stream. And so what are the passive income streams? And I know that you guys probably understand this. You guys probably know this. It comes down to taking those first steps into investing, into building your own business, money that comes from a business, but you don't have to actively partake in it. Dividends, so any stocks that you have that pay quarterly just for owning the stock, which is a great way to make money. Just little gifts from the internet that keep coming in. The real estate, which can get really tricky, because if you don't set it up correctly from the beginning, it will actually turn into a second job if you have to maintain the property, if you're dealing with finding people to live in it, like rental properties, if you're actively trying to put it on the market, if you're cleaning it all the time, if you're doing all those things, that would be more active income than passive income. So there's interest income, which is the compounding interest from all the investments. And then you have royalties, which is work that you've done, but you're still getting paid for it. So YouTube kind of falls into that category where it's work that you've done, but if you're monetized, you'll be able to continually keep making money from it, which is a fantastic place to get to. And that's the allure of YouTube. So I just wanted to briefly touch upon what are investments, because we know what the active ones are, and that's what majority of the videos that I've seen lately are about how, you know, they have a Fiverr account, they're making YouTube videos, they have brand sponsorship, they have all these other things. But like, if you really think about it, if you have a brand sponsorship, if someone's sponsoring your brand or your channel, that's almost like a salary, because you're then still commissioned to make videos and do an ad for them. It's still active. It's earned income. That's what it really comes down to. So investments. Let's backtrack. So backtrack 1 second. So definitely YouTube and everything that kind of falls around the YouTube halo, or the sphere of everything that is related to YouTube, comes down to earned income. Because if you're putting in effort, you're actually being very active. So I know I said that again, but we want to get into like moving from active income to passive income. And I think it frustrated me a lot, because there is so much more income streams that are actually their own legitimate, just ways of making money, that are so far beyond and will push the needle in such a way that have nothing to do with how much input that you're actually working with. So what are investments? Investments come down to anything that brings in money to your pocket and not taking money out of your pocket. And what that means is, like, if you own a house, if you're living in the house and you call your house an investment. This is a discussion that my wife and I get into a lot, and I've gotten into it with quite a few people, that if you're living in the house and it's costing you a mortgage and the utilities and all that, that is technically an investment, but it's more of a liability than an actual investment. Because an investment, by definition, is something that will bring in money and you are willing to sell at any point to convert it or to liquidate it into actual cash. So if you're not willing to sell your house to convert it to cash, then it doesn't fall under the investment category. Like, but if you owned a secondary property which you're renting out, and then at one point you're like, I'm just going to sell this, and then you sell it, well, then that's an investment, because it was bringing you money and you liquidated it and you made it into cash. Same with a car. A car, unless it's a car that is going to appreciate in value, chances are it's just a liability. So it's not something that any bank or any investment firm would actually look at and say, yeah, that's a nice investment, that car that you have. Unless you're willing to sell it, then it would be considered an investment. But if you're making more money down the line. Now, like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and all that kind of stuff, those fall in, like NFTs. Those fall into the greater fool kind of segment of investments, which means that people buy these investments with the hope that the next person will pay more for it. But it's not something that actually produces anything. It doesn't actually provide a service just yet. Like, I know that you can buy stuff with Bitcoin and you can transact with it, but all the other meme cryptocurrencies, it's just you're hoping that the next person will be dumber than you and pay more than you did. That's the way I think of it personally. So if I was to buy it, I'd be like, okay, well, I hope that the next guy buys it for more than me, right? And you actually saw that with Dogecoin, where it just went crazy expensive, and then people just sold it, and now all these people that were buying it when it was like almost $1, it's now worth like whatever 15, 16 cents. So those were the greater fools in that scenario. And they're still holding on, hoping that it will be worth more in the future, that there will be greater fools down the line. So if you're not willing to sell the thing that you call an investment, you can't consider it an investment, especially if it's costing you money to hold on to it. So like your house, like our house. But here's the one huge advantage to a house as an investment. I'm just going to do a little tangent right here. That for many people, if you can buy a house, it becomes a forced savings account, and it does grow over time as the value. But you will get to a point that you will either need to sell it or borrow the equity from it to then do other things with it, the equity that's built into it. But if you're borrowing against your own thing that you're living in, then that raises the risk of owning that property. Because if there's a downturn or the investment that you put that money into didn't work out, then you can not only lose that investment, but then you can lose the lien that you had against that investment. So you have to be very careful with that kind of stuff. But owning a house is a great first step for a lot of people who aren't comfortable saving, who aren't they haven't trained themselves to do monthly installments into an actual investment. So how do you start with the other income streams? Because the other income streams are, like I mentioned earlier, those are the more passive ones. Those are the ones that literally you don't have to do much beyond the initial setup. So if you're thinking of investing in stocks and buying into, either an ETF or some kind of large group of stocks, if you don't know a lot about stocks, picking a single stock is it's like a unicorn. It's magic. It's like the only way I would kind of address it in a sense is if you believe in a company and you believe that company is going to be around in the future because of what they're doing. For instance, like what Apple or Tesla are doing, where they have this grander vision where they want to influence the world into a better way, and you believe in that, and you pay and you kind of invest into those companies either by buying their product or by investing in the company because you believe that company is going to be around and it will change, and that everybody should be using this because it's awesome. Like if you have that feeling, and very, very strong feeling, those are the companies that you need to those are the individual kind of companies that you need to invest in. But you need to understand that just because they have a good idea doesn't mean that financially they'll succeed. So if you're just starting, probably an ETF would be a better choice. And this isn't financial advice, so I'm going to do this little disclaimer. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I just want to talk about, again, definition of multiple income streams. So if anything you have to do work towards and you have to actively participate, you're only scratching the surface of one or two actual income streams, being earned income, and the other one I would say is the royalty income. So if you set up like YouTube making money 3 years from now because it's like your videos are just still generating money, or if you write a song and that song gets used and the royalties from that. So if you're part of like stock photography, stock footage, if you do any kind of templates, animation templates or graphic templates, if you do any of that kind of stuff and you post it online and people buy it, that's royalty kind of income, or maybe business profit, but that's not really a business. It's more of a royalty because you did it once and then it continues to make money. So that would fall into the royalty income category. So you have earned income and then you have active income. No, sorry, not active, earned income and then royalty income. So you did have to do a little bit of effort to create something, and then you get paid for it down the ride. Just checking in with the comments. So I had passed on so many requests for product endorsements because I want to focus on my YouTube revenue whenever that happens, but I want to stay true to my vision. Yes, absolutely. And that's actually one of the things that moving forward, the next 10 years of YouTube, I think that in that integrity, the truthfulness, the way you are on camera should be the way that you are off camera. When people meet you, they should feel that you are the same person. There was a whole interview with Logan Paul, and he was talking about he created this persona that just went kind of off the reservation. He just kept going and creating all these videos, and he felt like he needed to keep doing that, but that wasn't him true to what he wanted to do. It was a version of him, but it wasn't him. And I think that that I got the idea from Tom Buck, where he has the ethics statement, like he'll only review stuff, but it's under these circumstances, and everyone has to follow that if they want to be part of the channel. So if you know that, so you know when he does a review that the company agreed to his kind of terms and condition to be part of it. And if it doesn't show up, that means that the company just didn't want to partake. They had another agenda. But again, even that, like that falls into the earned income, because you actually have to do, you trade a service for another service. So how do you start with those other income streams? Literally, it is so basic and so simple. You do start with $1. Now, it's not just $1 and just put it into a savings account or just leave it on your desk or whatever. Like, you literally have to do something with that dollar. So the first step is open up a investment account. You can, most banks have an investment account that you can do it. You can do it through other apps. Like there's Wealth Simple. There's a whole bunch of different things. So you need to kind of find out what would work best for you in your kind of location. But there are a lot of investment accounts that are like tax-free savings accounts that also allow you to invest. And any profit that is made from said investments is also tax-free. So anything that you do in that account will allow you to keep the profit. So if you invest and you kind of strike gold on something amazing and it makes you $1 million, well, that's $1 million tax-free for you. Again, not financial advice. I just want to make that clear. But so you start with $1, and the $1 won't necessarily buy you an investment. But if you put it into account, and you're able to do that, like literally, if it's just getting into the habit, every week you transfer $1 into that account, and you get into that habit of transferring, because something magical, okay, this is a big idea, and I'm going to tell you in 3 simple steps how this will change your life if you're not doing it already. So if you get into the habit of putting $1, even if it's a month, because a lot of people said, well, I can't invest, but like, even if you can put in $1 and get into the habit of doing that consistently, because it's like, what's a dollar? Just put in $1 and you put it into that account, and you get into the habit. There's one thing that will happen. First of all, you'll be like, well, if I can put in more, I'll put in $10. But then you set it up automatically, where it transfers it. And then you kind of check it a month or 2 later or 3 months later, and then you have $40 in there. Like, okay, well, I'll just put another $50 in there. And you start getting into this habit where it's just like, I'm going to buy that brand new land. And then you're like, before I do that, let me transfer $300 into the investment account. And if I have money after that, then I'll go back into it. And you start doing this, and you get into this habit of putting money away. And once you start seeing it grow, this is where the magic happens. You don't want to touch it. You just want to add to it. And then you start seeing, like, if you invest that money and you see one of those stocks doing a little bit better, like especially in ETF, which is over the 200 years of the stock market has been like this. Or is it like this for you guys? Yeah, it's been constantly going up. And once you start seeing a little bit of the compound interest, and you start seeing a little bit, like tiny, even the tiniest bit, where you see it and you get excited. Well, I know I did when I started investing the smallest amount, because when you get into the habit, you just want to keep going with that. It's for the guys that have been going to the gym, you get to that point where you start, if you miss a day at the gym, you start feeling bad for missing that day. The same thing happens with this habit of investing, because really what happens is that if you can't manage $100, you're not going to be able to manage $1 million down the line. So you need to have those good money habits with your tiny little budgets, because when they become bigger budgets, that's when people get into a lot of trouble. Like there's so many stories about people winning millions and millions of dollars, and then within 3 years, it's all gone. How does that happen? Someone that was living off of $50,000 a year gets $4 million, and 3 years later, all that money's gone, because understanding money and how to manage it, and that's why they say financial literacy. And this is something that I've been obsessed with for years, and I'm just like, I just want to make sure that the creative community out there does these simple things, because if you put the money in the right places, you will transfer your ability to make money from active to passive, or active to passive. And that's what we want to do. That is our goal. That should be your goal. You should be able to put enough money away over your entire career, where the moment you don't feel like doing that thing anymore, you've set up your income streams, which are your earned income, which is the first income that everybody gets. The next one is a profit income. So like any kind of business transactions that you do, from like selling some stuff, selling your merch, selling your the LUTs and the programs and any apps that you build for you, Avars specifically. Then you have your interest income, which is from the money that you put in, and then the compounding interest that happens of keeping that money in those places. Then you get the residual income, which is getting paid for work that you've done after. So that kind of falls into the YouTube category. Hold on, my phone is distracting me. Just gonna turn it off. Because when you sell, like for instance, when you sell your house, you'll have capital gains. So if you buy a rental property and you hold on to it for 10 years and you sell it, you'll have a capital gains from that. That's profit that you've earned. And a lot of it is on paper, especially if you are buying stocks and real estate and whatnot. It's all on paper, and essentially money is imaginary, because I give a dollar amount to this $1 bill. It's a good metaphor. It's not even in my hands. So because you and I both agree that $1 is $1, that piece of paper which costs 3 cents to make, money is so abundant because it is real and not real at the exact same time. So definitely you want to make sure that when you're listening to people online, make sure that they're talking about income streams that are definitely in line with more than just earned income. If it sounds like someone is talking about their earned income and they have more than 7 streams of income, then that all falls into, that's one stream of income. Like for instance, I have multiple clients. Is each one of those an income stream? Well, technically, but it's a stream of earned income, because you can have multiple stocks that you own and those are all bringing in different amounts of money, but it's still under the interest or the or like the dividends or that kind of stuff. That's really what it comes down to. So each one of those income streams, and they are earned income, profit income, interest income, capital gains, dividend, rental income, royalty income, and residual income, which is the YouTube thing. Because I know that it's one of those, YouTube is that magical kind of place where it's kind of royalty plus residual. So the work that you do, you'll make money from it. So kind of, it falls into a few of the categories because it is earned income. Because when you do, when you have brand deals or people send you some stuff in exchange for a video, that's still earned income. That's almost like a salary. If you have a branded or if you have a brand sponsor, that's a salary because you need to create a video for them. So when people talk about having, 30 different income streams, those are earned income streams. They almost always fall to earned income. And I think it kind of irked me a little bit where it's not about working more and trying to fill your hours. Like if you have consulting, if you have, different LUTs that you sell or different things, like those take up your time and effort. So those are all active. And the goal for creators is to get to a passive income stream. And that's why musicians, when they do sell their music and it gets used in a movie and then they get residuals, and actors are the same way. But anyone kind of below the fold, kind of below the line, on any of those kind of productions and film, they don't get a cut of the back end when money comes in from the sell of that product. So it's always good to, when people ask you to work for the company, ask for equity in the company. And a lot of people don't, and a lot of people don't know how to ask for equity in a company. Like if a startup came to you and they said that, we want to hire you to do this thing, it's like, but we can't pay you full price because we're a startup. Well, you have negotiating powers at that point. You can actually you can ask for equity in the company or a percentage of the company or options in the company. So if it does, kind of explode into this massive success down the line, you'll be able to partake in that. But those are harder things to get into because then you have to offer something of value. And this is what I was talking about before, being valuable, not available, in last week's stream. Let's say hello to, what are you guys talking about? Thank you, Luis. Yeah, this is something that it's one of those things, and this is why I've kind of created this channel, because I wanted to talk more about creators making money and then doing something with that, because your earning potential can only go so high. Like even the highest salaries in the world, like doctors and lawyers, there's a limit to how much money they can make. And it's what you do with the money that you've made on top of your basic living needs. What do you do with that will help you in the future? There's a saying that goes, they say that if you save money now, it will save you later. It's that weird thing, but it's not about savings, because if you just put your money into a savings account and you have a big savings account, then it's not doing anything for you, because $100 today will be like $98 1 year from now, and it'll just keep getting less and less. Like just look at what $20 can buy you today versus what it could buy you 30 years ago. You can go to a grocery store and buy, almost a cart full of goodies for $20. Like now you can buy, maybe a Happy Meal and a burger. Like it just gets nutty. So yeah, submitting to like stock footage sites, it's great. It's not as lucrative as it used to be, but you never know, because if you have that right thing, that is kind of that right sauce, that's when it can get really, really good. So there's a company called blackbox.io where they you submit your footage once to them. They'll even tag it. They'll do a lot of that stuff, and then they'll send it off. Now I think it's mostly footage, not stock photos. And they'll aggregate it to a whole bunch of different platforms. I can't remember which platforms they're affiliated with, but they'll submit it. They also have people that will grade it. They'll cut down footage, and you can actually collaborate and then share some of that profit with those people that will curate. So blackbox.io, I think, is the company. Let me just double check. All right, let's see. Oh, no, I did that. So you have capital growth tax. Anyways, for sure, worth investing, but growth is not tax-free. In some places, yeah, like here in Canada, we have a tax-free savings account, but you can only put in so much money into that account, and you have to be over 18 years old to open it up. But it's $5,000 a year that you can keep adding to it. There's also Roth RIA, or I think that's what it is in the States. There's a whole bunch of different things. So you definitely have to figure out what you can do. There's also RSPs and different kinds of accounts that you can put money into. But that's when you start making, when your earned income becomes so high that you need to put it away, because otherwise you're going to get taxed for it. So yeah, app money is a good one. Invest a bit of time and create your own money printing machine. Not fully passive, this is true, but can go a long way with small support needed. Yeah, it's building your own things that will generate money down the line. It's actually, coding is one of the things that I wish I had leaned into more when I was younger. I just get too frustrated. True passive income is when your money works for you. Yes, that is true. When you can close your eye, when you can make money in your sleep, that is the goal. Moving from active to passive, or from active to passive. I want to make sure that I'm moving in the right way for you guys. Like Amazon affiliates, that is a way of, you still had to do a little bit, but that's the royalties that come from it. I think it's categorized as royalties when you do affiliate marketing, but you still have to put in a little bit of effort at the beginning. That's what a lot of people call mailbox money, where you get money in the mail after a certain point. Also, rental income falls into mailbox money. You just kind of money finds you, and you're attracting money to yourself. Online courses, they fall into residual income and royalty income, because you had to put in that effort. You actually had to do the work right from the beginning to set up that product. So once that product is in, yes, it does kind of fall into the passive, but it's active to passive. So you're definitely going in the right direction, where it's active. You did the work for it. It's more of a royalty and the residual income, where you're making money down the line. So yes, that is it is passive once you've been active doing it. Unless you can get other people to do it for you, and you just pay them to do it. It's like that initial investment, and then the business idea works. So that's where that business income comes from. So if you can get someone to create it for you, and you don't actually have to put in any effort, you just pay for the initial investment, and then it makes money down the line. You can create a system to schedule some marketing, like ads on social media. And yeah, I think it can be considered passive. Yes. But again, you still have to start with the active, and then it moves into the passive. Exactly. You still have to create the content to sell those affiliate links. Hardly passive. So quite a few clients now want videos making for their own online courses. Is it worth it going in for profit? Yes. If you can, like, unless it's completely worth your time, then some, if you're able to make that profit right off the top, or you can use that as kind of a bargaining chip. But the only thing is, it's it can get tricky, because if you don't have access to their analytics, then they can just say it's not making enough money. So that's the thing that you need to be careful about. Now, if it's someone that you know and trust, and they'll share those analytics, and you can do it for a much reduced rate because you believe in the thing that you're doing, that could be a good way to go about it. And I've had these conversations with a few people where we wanted to build some courses, we wanted to do this stuff, we wanted to build apps, we wanted to do and just, we all did the minimal investment off the top just to get it into the MVP, the minimal viable product, put it out there and see how it goes. There are ways to do that, but you have to trust the people that you're going to do those kind of courses with, that they will give you true feedback and actual analytics of how the course is doing, because it will be hard to chase them for that down the line. It's the same thing as, it's almost like the multi-channel networks that came out before, where you would share profit with them because they had access to your analytics. They would take a good portion of it, but they wouldn't actually do anything beyond. So you have to know the people that you're working with to set that up properly, or have a really good statement of work and contract in place that will make sure that they share the analytics every quarter or half a year or once a year, and you're able to see what the back end is, to make sure that you're getting your fair share. Like with companies, if a company actually, if you're able to get equity in a company and it's a public company, then it's a lot easier to get that kind of information, because then they're legally bound to give you those numbers when you ask for them. So those are the kinds of things that you need to look out for. And when I think it was Einstein that said that the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. I don't know if he actually said that, but it's a great way to think about it, where because the stock market has literally been going upwards since its inception, and it's done all these like bouncing up and down. Like there's crashes that happen every once in a while. No one can predict a crash. No one knows when something's going to happen. But even when the housing market went fine, and then the stock market did this whole crash last year, like we're already at an all-time high. So even if there's a huge crash, that's one of the times not to sell, not to jump out of the conversation, as you will. That's when you say, oh, just hold on. And especially if you bought in companies that are those long-term companies, or if you have an ETF, which is like the S&P 500, the top 500 companies that are working in the States. And that always changes year to year. They're always kind of refreshing what those companies are. Even Warren Buffett has said that there's no analyst that was able to beat what the S&P 500 was able to do by itself. It's just knowing that once you get into that habit, and once you truly understand what income streams are, that's when you'll get excited about continuing to move away from active into passive income. Because if you have to put in work, then it's still active. And if you have to put in a lot of work, then it's earned income 100%. So it doesn't matter if you have 10 brand deals. Like I have multiple clients. Again, I wouldn't consider them multiple income streams. They're multiple income streams within that income stream. So you have the main one, and then you have the branches that all feed into that one, but that is still considered one. So then what do you do? The goal is to go from earned income, which everyone can start with, and taking just a little bit of that earned income, the residual of it, and moving it into the next big income stream, because it's about the big income streams. Because if you can get all the way down to residual income, yes, exactly, income streams, meta streams. That's what I should have called the talk. It's once you get into those and you can move your money from the earned income and you can get it into those others. Like I haven't gone into residential or real estate income yet because I want to make sure that I understand it well enough. I'm excited about it. I want to own multiple properties, but owning multiple properties where you have a firm that is managing that is finding the rentals of it, that is maintaining it, that is doing all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into another job where I don't want to be unclogging toilets. I don't want to be fixing holes. I don't want to be working with any of that kind of stuff. I want to pass that off to someone that is going to actually manage it for me, because otherwise it just turns into a job. Even if it's a part-time job, it's something that I don't want. I'd rather be doing other things with my time. So if your time is involved, then it's still earned income at that point. So it's an interesting thing. What do you guys think? What have you guys seen those videos that I'm talking about where people are talking about all their income streams, and it's just like when you take a step back, you actually realize like they're all earned income, and it's great. But like I can have 20 clients. It's no different than them. Like it doesn't mean I have 20 income streams. I have 20 clients that all funnel into earned income as one stream. So you have earned income, profit income, interest income, residual, dividend, rental, capital gains, and royalty. So there's like 8 major streams that do come in as your income streams. Now, earned income, you can have multiple little streams that are coming, towards you. That's fine. That's fantastic. And as John was saying, that it's those meta streams, the streams within the streams. It's inception streams. There you go. So do you have a limit on how many clients that I have within one time, so that you have room for developing passive income streams? So yes, there's only so much time that I have. And when I dedicate my time to a project, to a company, to do work on something, and this is what I talked about last week, where I talked about being valuable versus available. If I spread myself too thin and try to work on multiple projects at the same time, all the projects will suffer, and then all the clients will go away and they won't want to work with me because they didn't feel like their project was a priority. And I do try to stagger multiple projects, kind of as one starts, another one is finishing. That way I don't have any kind of lull time. And when there is feedback from one client, or when I'm waiting for feedback from one client, I can be working on something else and then pass that to the next round of feedback. So when I get the feedback from the first client, I can then work on that while I'm waiting for. So I'm trying to maximize the amount of days that I'm actually able to work with clients. Because I did a whole video where I talk about how to set your day rate. Now, not the day rate that you tell people, but like how much you actually need to be earning per day to be able to live comfortably, to make sure that all your bills are paid, and then how to add profit on top of that. There's a whole video where I talked about that. Because there's only about 180 to 200 days any freelancer or contractor can actually work. Because there's holidays, there's weekends, there's days that just you're not going to be able to book. And when you know the amount of money that you need to be making per day that you are actually working, and I've said this before, where your day rate should be your baseline, not your ceiling. Because you should be, money is so abundant in the world that you should be able to make way more money. Like, just because a client, for instance, next time Immediately, everyone that's watching right now, next time you're about to get put out a quote for a project or give a day rate, immediately start today, make it 10% more. Because a client that will pay you $3,000 will pay you $3,300. For them, it's not a big difference. The client that said yes to $3,000 will pay $3,300. So if you immediately start with 10% increase in your earned income in your client projects. So if your day rate is $500 and immediately you start charging $525 or $550 per day, a client will pay you that rate. Now, I'm not a big fan of day rates or hourly rate unless it's a long-term commitment, almost like a retainer of sorts where you're working for a company and they're able to feed you work consistently, so they don't have a specific project, but they're able to do that. That's okay in those cases. Well, that's for me personally. You guys can definitely do what feels good for you. But yeah, like immediately start charging more. Start 10%. Go 30%. If you're busy and a client comes to you, do double your rate. And if the client says, "Ooh, I can't pay that," especially if it's a new client, they don't know your rate before. But if it's an older client and they say that they can't pay your new rate, just be like, "Well, then maybe I can help you find someone that will be able to help you." But you need to continually be raising your rates. More than 2% a year, which is what an average salary raise is, just to keep up with inflation. So yeah, I see those and immediately think, if you don't make a video, you'll lose all that income. Sounds like an earned income to me. Yeah. With royalties and residual, what will eventually fade? That will eventually fade if you stop making videos. Yeah, absolutely. Just like musicians, unless you're the Beatles and whatnot, or AC/DC, where they're actually selling more albums now than they were when they were making their music initially. Like I think every year, Back in Black still goes multi-platinum or something crazy like that. So Mac is saying that he cannot complain. Got a day job with a non-profit, which is great. Yeah. Musical stuff with teaching and playing. Video photo business as much as I manage time. Baking in the YouTube channel into music stuff. Yeah. It's a good way to do all those things, but there's a point where you're not gonna be able to keep up with that. So that's where setting up those earned income funneling into the other major income streams is what this whole game is about. And it's about understanding that if you have money kind of locked up in an asset, either a liability or an asset like a car. Like right now, I'm considering selling my car because of the crazy demand that is out there for used cars. And I looked into it, and it's just like, I have all this money sitting in an asset. Like, yes, I still need a car, but I can sell my car for more than I would be able to at any other point. And so I'm looking at that as a cash opportunity, because I can do more with that money outside of it sitting in that car, because that car is going to continually become less and less and less valuable over time. And it's a 4-year-old car. And if I can sell it and pull that, liquidate it essentially, I can do a lot of other things with that money that I wouldn't be able to do if the car just sat there for another 4 years. Because I bought the car, so I wanted to hold on to it. But the opportunity are raised right now. And so you need to, when you have those kind of passive incomes, when you have those opportunities, you have to have those opportunity, like what's the opportunity cost from not acting and doing something with that money? Like if a stock is doing really, really well, but you don't want to be in that company anymore and you want to move that into something else, you're free to do all those things, and understanding that and having that money literacy. Because when the stock market is really high, that's when you want to sell, obviously, right? But when it's going to keep going higher? Yes. But when you have things that you know are going to depreciate over time, and there's an opportunity to sell it for more than you would have in normal circumstances, those are opportunities that you need to be able to look out for and be okay with selling. And that's why having a house and considering it your investment is not considered an investment unless you're willing to sell. And that's something that it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy decision to make, to completely stop life and, have it for the next 3 months revolve around trying to sell and then buy or move the entire thing. And that's something that we did. Like, we cashed out of where we were living before, and because we work from home, both of us, we took the advantage of selling that asset, because we lived in it for quite some time and it raised in value and we were able to do something with it. But most people aren't in that position to be able to do that. So if you're going to invest your money into a forced savings account, make sure that you're putting in, there are things you can do right off the bat to, if you buy a house, make extra payments every year. Because even a $1,000 payment, within the first year of owning a house, can save you thousands and thousands of dollars towards the end of a mortgage. It's actually crazy. If you're able to put in $2,000 right off the top or something like that, there's a calculation for it. It can save you almost $80,000 over a 30-year term of just interest alone. Because when you buy a house, the first few years are almost all interest weighted. So, and it's the last few years that are all principal weighted. So if your payment is $1,500, $1,200 is just interest, and then $300 goes to your principal, and then it kind of reverses towards the end. So if you can put in say a $2,000 of just extra payment on top of your mortgage payment in that first year, that goes all to principal, which then turns into huge savings down the line. And this is something that I wished that I had known years and years ago, because I would have been doing this from the beginning. But, kind of learn as you go. So what are some of the resources that if you're looking to get your financial literacy kind of to the next level? One of my favorite, I call him my financial grandpa, is Dave Ramsey. If you guys haven't seen Dave Ramsey or checked him out, he's blunt. He'll call everybody out. It's don't buy that stupid expensive thing. And this is why kind of my whole main channel is resorted to don't buy that new gear. Don't go into debt to, for the promise of this new piece of gear. Learn how to do the thing that you're going to do. Gear doesn't matter. Of course gear matters, but knowing how to use the gear matters so much more, and you become so much more valuable. If I was to sell all my gear right now and I didn't have access to any of it, I can still go onto set and still be valuable and do work on other people's gear. You can't do that. You can't rent out other people's skills to use for yourself. You can rent out cameras, you can rent out computers, you can rent cars, you can do all that stuff, but you can't transfer your knowledge and your skills. You can't transfer the value that you can bring to whatever that you're doing. And that's why when people get obsessed with oh, this new camera's coming out, it's well, who cares? Who cares if this new camera's coming out? It doesn't make you more valuable, because unless you get it first and you're the first person to have it and everyone wants to use it, or you're making a YouTube video and you're just going to return it. But again, it doesn't add value to what you're actually able to bring to the table if you know how to use that camera. Better yet, if you know how to do the thing that people are looking for, that's way more valuable than any piece of gear could ever be, unless it's that robot arm, because no one can be a robot. At least not yet. There's an investment. Invest in robotics and robotic cameramen. But yeah. So John is saying that do you have to say no to projects below a certain budget, e.g., only take projects starting from X amount? Well, I have a lot of conversations with people that have reached out in the past where they have this grand idea, and immediately I already know roughly how much that a project like that would cost, plus my time, plus just because I'm running a business. And so the conversation I would have with them is be like, so let me get this straight. You're asking for this, this, and this, and I would kind of mirror back what they were saying to me, and they would confirm that that's what they're looking for. And I would say, okay, for a project like this, we would start north of, say, $30,000. Say that's what I would say. Are you comfortable with that? Because I don't want to do a whole proposal. I don't want to do a whole project plan for them, only for them to come back and say, "Ooh, that's way more than we thought." And it's a good way to vet conversations really quickly, because I've had a lot of conversations where people say that they have $500 and that this is what they want to do, and it's like my typical starting for a project is about $5,000 for X, and I would tell them what the project is, and they're like, "Oh, okay," and they would be completely fine. I would see, maybe point them in a direction where someone that can do it for that kind of amount is available. But one thing that has happened, I've mentioned this before, where many times a client or a potential client is calling my company and they want to do something, and I would say that that's a project like north of $50,000, but they only have $5,000. I'm like, well, it's not something that I may be able to help you with, but I'm pretty sure that there are people that will be able to get the project done for you for that price. And they would go away, and then like 3 years later, they would come back and be like, we have $50,000. What can we do? Because they want to work with me, because I became the $50,000 guy, not the $5,000 guy. Because immediately, the moment you give a price to a client or a potential client, then you become that price range in their booklet. And one of the most powerful things you can do when talking about money is, the moment you say a price, don't say anything after that. Let them tell you. Let them tell you if it's too high or too low. And because I've seen so many people negotiate down for themselves. They negotiate themselves down. Like, oh, well, especially a lot of YouTubers, I've had conversations where like a brand came and they wanted to pay me $1,000, but I told them it would be $1,000 to do that thing, and then like, oh, I got scared, so I said, oh, but for I can do it for 500. And it's like they negotiated themselves. And like, you in those scenarios, you're supposed to, the $1 million silence, 100%, the $1 million silence. It really comes down to whoever says the number first loses. So when talking to brands, if you want to do YouTube stuff, when you're talking to brands, when you're talking to clients, let them tell you what their budget is. If they come and they're just fishing for a price, then you tell them that it's this or north. And if you can sense that that's what they're doing, then that's when you double your rate right there on the spot, and don't even hesitate, because what's the worst that can happen? They'll say yes, and then you'll make that. Everybody has their go away price. I know that the saying is like everyone has their price, but everyone has their go away price. And like when I feel that I don't want to work on a project, but at the same time, I don't want to just say like, no, I'm not interested in this project. I'll give my the price that I know most people will just kind of back away. And a few times people said, yeah, no problem, let's do it. And it's like, well, now it's worth my time to work on this project. So those are the things. That's the thing that I wanted to chat about today. I wanted to chat about income streams and understanding how to move from active to passive, and to make everything that you do worthwhile, because there will be a point where you shouldn't have to work, and it should be a choice, because you want to make a YouTube video. You want to work on that client project because it's a great project. And being in that space and understanding money and being very literate with your finances is one of the best superpowers that you can have. And I recommend you become financially literate, especially as a creative, especially as someone who had to learn the hard way, more than likely, how to manage money, how to talk about money, how to discuss money, how to bring up money, and how to demand your value, not just your availability. And there is power in talking about money, especially as a creative, because you are immediately already coming in as the expert in the situation. Your value is immediate when a client reaches out to work with you, because they're not good at that. You are. So when you state your price, state it with confidence. Know that your 8 income streams are these massive rivers, like it's the Mississippi, it's the Nile. All those little streams are coming in to feed those big rivers. You have 8 big rivers. Fill them all up. You guys have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me on this Thursday. I'll see you guys next week. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.